Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
Yes, indeed. Hour number 2 of the program begins with our friend Danny Clinkscale joining us here in the program. He is back. He was unleashed on the continent of Europe.
They'll never recover.
Is it a continent or is it Eurasia? There for a while it was Eurasia. Then I hear Europe's back. Like what do we got here?
I think most people call it the continent when you visit there, I guess. I don't know. Eurasia, I think, is sort of a more old-timey description.
Really? That like when I was a kid, we had Europe was one continent and Asia was another, which it makes no sense because there is no continent is supposed to be a landmass. It's a political line, right? Like Eurasia is one geographic mass. It should be one continent. But
Eurasia.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Thank you. So we've done something.
We have only 6 continents, not 7.
Yes. Well, there for a while, that's what they were teaching. That's what they taught one of my daughters. And then now Europe is back.
How many planets do we have? How many continents do we have? Can we come to a consensus on this?
Well, Rex Hudler would say we've got 10 because the moon is
the moon. That's right.
A planet.
Rex would put it there. Beautiful planet.
To his credit, he's had a good time kind of making fun of himself since that happened.
He always pokes fun at it.
Absolutely. He's a great sport.
Rex is not full of Rex.
No.
Right?
No, I agree with that.
I mean, he's a good dude.
That's why their chemistry works.
And that's why, you know what? That's
Ryan
why
kind of poke him, and he's like, yeah, okay.
Listen, I did not have on the sheet, let's break down Rex Hudler.
No.
But since we're here, I'll give the guy a lot of credit. He broke that. He was, I thought after 1 year he was going to be gone, right? He was universally bombed. He's not going to X and O it, for lack of a better term. I know it doesn't really apply to baseball, but, with maybe the best of them, but through sheer will of personality and effort. It's amazing how many people you'll run into that say, yeah, well, I was out at the ballpark in the parking lot, and Rex was just walking around saying hi to people. He has won over a city. I think it's phenomenal. Listen, I know you and I are going to sit here and say, not our number one color analyst, right? Because we're a couple of nerds. But I have nothing but respect for the man and how hard he worked at making it work here in Kansas City. Does he wear the joy of the World Series? Yes.
Yeah, I'll say this.
That's the ultimate.
I think if they had continued to lose, he probably would not be the color analyst.
I think that's fair. But you can almost say that about anybody, can't you?
I don't know. I mean, Paul Splittorff was there for a million years.
That's true.
They were terrible.
That's true.
He was former Royal. That helped.
No, I think the World Series helped. But I listen, this is what I want to say. Rex Hudler has really worked hard at trying to ingratiate himself in this city and to be a part of the community.
For a guy who had no history here before.
Yeah.
No question.
And I think.
I mean, it's not his situation that he was brought here with no real connection to the franchise. The man wanted to work.
Yeah.
Do I think it was the wisest decision in the world? No. I mean, there were so many people around here who probably could have done it and had some Royals connection, but that was the decision they made. And in the end, it's worked. He became a lovable figure. So there you go.
As he would say, I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the man's work ethic and toughness. And you know what? I actually appreciate the fact that he's got a smile on his face all the time.
That's true.
Curtis isn't. Me, you, and Jed. 3 of the 4 of us in here, sour A's.
Grumpy cats
way too much, right? The world needs some Rex Hudlers to balance us out.
Yep. And the man has the baseball in his hand all the time. And if you go to DannyClinkskill.com, there's about 800 images of me tossing a baseball. So we're kindred spirits in that.
Oh, I guess if that's how you want to.
Just
kindred spirits. Kindred spirits.
Only 2 guys to toss a baseball.
Yeah, exactly. This is how easy sometimes it is to impress your spouse. When I did that photo shoot, we were not planned on doing this, but the photographer came up with the idea of the fact maybe I should pose with a baseball, and so
boy, when you said pose, I was wondering
Wearing only a baseball.
Yeah, wearing only a baseball.
Burt Reynolds or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, I started tossing the ball up and down, and she was taking multiple images. I think she ended up taking about 60 or 70 of them. And afterwards, my wife says, "I'm so impressed. You never dropped the baseball." I'm like, yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah.
I always had to look at the camera and toss the ball up and down over and over again, and I did never drop it, so that was...
Low bar, Danny.
It was
I know,
pretty close to
what I
me
said.
at the time.
Your loved ones can create a low bar for you, and they did.
By the way, Danny Clinkscale from DannyClinkscale.com is brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing for commercial and residential roofing. Easton Roofing, 4 straight years voted Best of Houses, Angie's List Super Service Award winner with Easton Roofing. There's no payment collected until you're 100% satisfied. Credit cards and PayPal accepted. Call 913-257-5426. Find them online at eastonroofing.com. By the way, job well done at my house. My repair is completed. So thank you to my friends at Easton Roofing. They were absolutely fantastic. And I also appreciated that they called me and said, hey, we actually ended up being several days later than I had initially been told because it was raining. And they said, I'm not going to send my guy up there
on a slick roof.
Instead of just like, and I said, totally, 100%. I don't want anyone, falling at my house or getting hurt. And he said, well, I really appreciate you understanding like this. I'm like, well, it's kind of just being a human being, I think.
Right.
But it was very kind. So thanks to the folks at Easton Roofing. They did a phenomenal job. And I appreciate them looking out for the safety of their employees because I think some people might have been like, let's jam it up there, get it up there, do whatever. Who knows if it's going to get done. Yeah, exactly. Let's get another check. Let's go on to the next one. And that's not how they did business. They said, we're going to wait till we can do it safely. So I appreciate that. Thank you to the guys at Easton Roofing. The Royals, we've been discussing a lot of Royals baseball. I have no venom for them being bad. This is it. We're paying the check. It's just like last year. Paying the check for them, going for it hard. Yes, many things could have been done better. Yes, they could have drafted better. Yes, for all those things. But we are where we knew we would be. But Bob, who I love, and Bob knows I'm a big fan of Bob, who called in, and somebody said, please, no more calls. Hashtag Bob. And I, to which, that's funny. It was tongue in cheek, I believe. But Bob's a great caller. And Bob often does not look at things the way I do. But I think Bob is a perfect example of false expectations for this team. And I think this is the danger the Royals have created by saying what they think the fans want to hear in the offseason and spring training. We're here. It's time to start competing for a division title. Last year we started playing better ball when there was some accountability. This is not a rebuild. It's time to contend. No, it's not. That sounds great in spring training, but then you get Bob going, Ned Yost has lost the team because they're not playing good baseball. Well, they're not a good baseball team.
I agree with that, but fans do have some expectation. It was raised. You could say both. You can say, hey, we're going to try to be as competitive as possible. Well, we have to think 3-4 years down the road. What would be wrong about that? Just say that. I mean, clearly, some of the things they're doing, however, are sending a mixed message. I just shook my head when Curtis did the last note of the Sports Center. I mean, what the hell is Kevin Gutierrez being sent to the minors for? Because he's playing like a slappy. And then if you're going to be up here, you're going to I mean, he's supposed to be a glove guy, and he wasn't out there for the cutoff yesterday. Well, so Mondesi wasn't either. And Ned said it after the game.
Gutierrez has had an issue since he's been here.
The mixed message here to me is Terrence Gore is on the squad. There is no reason to have Terrence Gore on your squad in a rebuilding mode, except to trade him at the deadline for a team that's looking for. Well, you can do that. You can do that if he's in the minors. He can't send him to the minors. He's got to go through free agency, doesn't he? He's probably out of options. He's out of options. Yeah, I think he's on a big league contract. So, and you're not going to get him through waivers. But what do you really think you're going to get for Terrence Gore? I mean, the Cubs tried it, and they decided they didn't want him around this year. I'm with you. The Terrence Gore thing is puzzling. So you're sending a potential part of your future that you hope, maybe, okay, he kicked the ball around a little bit, but he was hitting when he came up, showed some promise. Chris Owings is still on the team.
Then
you're keeping Terrence Gore around like it's the postseason.
Well, my issue,
and they have made a corresponding move. Heath Philmeyer now is coming back up.
Yeah, which they needed to do anyway because they'd brought a position player up for a pitcher, and they needed the pitcher anyway.
And yesterday they said they were thin on pitching, although I didn't quite understand the Scott Barlow explanation that he had pitched 30 pitches 2 days ago. I mean, if you can avoid throwing a position player out there, I think you should. I mean,
I don't. I'd do it way more.
Really?
If I thought the game was over, I'd have a couple of guys.
I just think it becomes.
That's where I think the two-way player is going to make his bones.
Then have a two-way player of sorts.
Well, I mean, but listen,
he might have been the worst example of a pitcher.
What do you care about your run differential?
I don't care about the run differential, but you turn a game that was bad into a comic affair.
Well, and that's what Bob. So you're on the same page with Bob because that's what Bob said. Said it's an embarrassment. You agree?
I do agree that if you've got a guy out there who absolutely has no chance of getting anybody out. I mean, he was lobbing it in at 65. Most times a position player can come in there. Either they got a goofy knuckleball, or they screw around on the side with a curve, or something. You got nobody
some odd
like
movement
that
because of their
yes, I do think
delivery.
It creates an embarrassment situation and a bad feeling on the team. You can kind of laugh it off, I guess, but I don't know.
I have absolutely no problem with it. I do think down the road, the guys that were hitter pitchers are going to keep up the pitching a little bit more, and you're going to do that. I think that's how you're going to steal. Your mop-up guy is going to be your first baseman.
Well, I agree, because one thing that
Olerud is going to keep up with his stuff. You know, he was a guy that could have been a pitcher.
Right. Yeah.
He's going to keep up with his stuff, and he'll come in and be the mop-up guy.
Well, what we've had here is the fact that baseball has completely changed as to how they use their players, and they still have a 25-man roster. That's the problem. I mean, a 25-man roster was created when you had 4 starting pitchers who pitched a boatload of innings and some relievers who would go 2 or 3 innings, even your closer would, and a fairly long player bench, and you don't have that anymore. For the life of me, I guess they aren't they going to change that in the next?
Well, they're going to 26 is one of the proposed.
Yeah, it probably should be more like 28.
I'm fine with 25 and just make them more versatile.
I agree that that's the structure they have to do now, and you are creating something that can be valuable in a versatile pitcher player. We're already seeing that players like Whit Merrifield, which is another topic I thought I'd bring up, that bringing up Nicky Lopez has been great, and everybody's happy with it. But what you've done is like tear about 1/3 of Whit Merrifield's value away by making him a full-time outfielder.
I said this. I said Whit Merrifield, he was called a whiner. Right? Whit Merrifield, he's a whiner. Whit Merrifield, first of all, has been hosed by the system.
Over and over.
I have no problem with what the Royals did because their job is not to generate the most revenue for the Merrifield family.
Right.
So their job is to win baseball games. So I have no issue with the Royals. He is simply a victim of the loopholes in the rules. And your job as a ball club is to use the rules to the fullest extent to make your team better. So bravo to the Royals, but it does suck to be Whit Merrifield and how they've used him. And then to sign him to a deal that the biggest chunk of change after in the last year of the guaranteed money he makes, it drops down to $2.75 million. He's got a $10 million or $10.5 million option, club option, that it now, at age 35, that it now gets significantly harder to be worth $10.5 million as an outfielder as opposed to playing second base.
Absolutely.
So he's got a reason to be like, whoa, I'm not coming off second.
And also that, from a team standpoint, hey, Nicky Lopez looks like he's going to be a good ball player. Although,
wait a minute, but let's back up. We're already on that. Right. I want to finish what we were talking about first, and we'll come back to Whit.
It diminishes Whit Merrifield as a right fielder is a far less valuable commodity than a play all over the field, but mostly second base guy. That's great production for that. For a straight right fielder, it's okay.
Well, I looked it up. He was in guys that qualified for the batting title. He was 3rd best OPS amongst second basemen. He was 16th best amongst outfielders.
Right, exactly.
So but he's not 150th.
No, he doesn't become a bum.
Right.
But what you're turning him into is a borderline all-star, into some guy who couldn't even spit in that direction. For instance.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never going to make the all-star game, for instance, as an outfielder.
No
way.